Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And the hosts are confused as fuck. At least one of them is. And it's about usually what episode she's on.
Yeah.
And it's this girl, Alanna.
And not this girl, Kelsey.
Ooh. But that's okay. It's all part of my charm.
Yep. I would be like that, and I am like that. That's why I know myself and I have to write stuff down so I can look at it 100 times. Otherwise, I will not remember. Like, I'm good at remembering stuff that people tell me to do like that day. If it's anything more than a day, I need to write it down.
And then there's the change of plans when we have to like split episodes into two halves. And then in my head, I'm counting it differently than other people. And it's like, well, yeah. That's okay. We deal with it. But
yeah, we figure it out.
I do know this one is about con artists.
It's going to be fun.
Con artists are usually pretty fun, although awful.
Yeah, they aren't the best of people by any means.
Nope. They prey on the weak. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I'll lay off the hard P sounds till I get a pop filter. Speaking of which, I have a nice crack to make here. I have a Mr. Pink drink. It's a lovely local, Alberta-made mead beverage. Wait for
it. Nice crack.
Nice crack.
I already cracked mine open. I've been drinking it for like almost an hour already?
No.
I've been sipping at it tiny because we only just started recording. So, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't chug it all before we started.
I know. I think every different podcasts and stuff, and people have their own rituals.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, after work, it's more likely that I've maybe had one before we start recording to take the edge off the day.
Yeah.
Oh, especially since I had the commute to the new place. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't normally drink when we're recording, so we'll see how this goes. Hence also why I'm pacing myself, because I tend to go hard really fast, and if I do that, I won't be able to read my notes. So.
I could be gracious enough to let you go first. Yeah, it's like
I don't know, that might just end up making your segment really terrible because I'll fall asleep.
Oh dear. Yeah, I like my drinks. I was watching this. I was like thinking, at least it's not like you dropped acid. I was watching this Netflix special. I was like documentaries, and then it was like I forget what it's called. I'm so sorry. I could definitely.
Was that A Good Trip?
Yes, that is what it was called. Yep, and it was hosted by Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was a bunch of celebrities talking about the times they had dropped acid, and like Sting was featured prominently, the musician,
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched it last year sometime.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know if it was new or old, or I enjoyed it though. I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty much every comedian ever. And then a whole bunch of other people that a lot of them you just wouldn't expect. But all the comedians, you're like, I expected that.
Well, although some of them were like I tried that once and no thank you, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if it definitely Sarah Silverman was on there. I love her. Oh,
Hmm.
anyway, recommend. Funny shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Can relate just a little bit. But it's cool when you see, like, yeah, even Ben Stiller, he was one of the ones you don't think was gonna be on there, but he was like,
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I called my dad and went home. And also, did you know that when they were filming Titanic and they were finishing up filming like on location in Halifax, and someone spiked the seafood chowder with some sort of PCP, and like 60 cast and crew had to go to the hospital.
Oh my God, no, I didn't know that.
Things I learned like, this last week or so in history. I was like, that is awesome. Whoever did it has never been caught. And they all like had to be taken, like 60 to 80 people had to be, not apparently not Leo or Kate, but also not the lady that plays old Kate. So like she's a little suspicious. She didn't eat the
Yeah.
chowder. And then they were trying to contain them in their different little hospital cubicles, but they weren't like staying behind their little curtains, and like somebody formed a conga line.
Oh my
Apparently
God.
James Cameron got like stabbed in the face with a pen and he was laughing.
Jesus.
I know. Sorry, that was my little fun trivia of the day. This has been Weird Facts with Alanna. No.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to finish that. The more you know.
Yeah.
Anywho, that person was a bit of a con artist, if you ask me. That's
Yeah.
a pretty good prank.
Yeah, they're
uh,
pretty sneaky.
and no one died, so I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
that's good.
Oh, con artists. Face it, they're usually male, at least
Yeah.
as they're portrayed in movies and stuff. But I don't know if that's actually true. Not in my research. I found some distinctly female lists of con artists, but I know you
Oh,
have
okay.
one that's probably male, if you want to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, I can go first.
With the traditional con man.
Yeah, I got super excited about my case and ended up pretty much unloading on my boyfriend about literally every fact in this gentleman's life.
Oh, really?
Like I was had verbal diarrhea for like 10 minutes straight, and I was like, and then.
Just it's like when an actor studying for a part, it's totally taking you over. It's like, ah, I'm so
Well,
deep in.
I my thing is I don't know how to feel about this guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
we all have layers.
Well, I'll see how you feel about him at the end.
Oh, you know
Um,
me. I'm so good at making good decisions. Yep. Not good decisions, but I always say I'm bad at making decisions because I'm a Pisces and it's fish going two different ways. So I can see both sides. Devil's
well, you'll
advocate.
probably end up in the middle just like me then.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
cool. I'm intrigued.
so my guy is from India, and all of the crimes take place in India. So there was a lot of me Googling pronunciations of things. So I am trying the best I can.
Ooh,
So
everything's funnier in an Indian accent. You could definitely try and do one. I wouldn't mind.
no, I'm not good in an accent, but I'll pronounce the names as such that from what I could find on the internet.
I'm like, give it your best, Russell Peters. No, that's Irish.
Yeah, I was like, that's not recipes.
Wait. Oh, the thing his dad says. oh, someone's gonna get hurt real bad. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Uh, so my gentleman's name, he kind of like a moniker, I guess, or like a nickname they gave him.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, so that's believe from what I ran across, it's pronounced Nat Warlol.
Oh dear. That's not
Yeah,
easy to wrap your mouth around.
no. So he was an Indian con man known for really high profile crimes and a whole bunch of prison escapes, which we'll get into.
Ooh, I like a
Yeah.
prison escaper. I talked about that when we did the heist one, the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was pretty hard to like find stuff about his childhood because there's kind of two stories on what his like him being brought up was like, but one of them I believe significantly more than the other, so I'll start with that one.
Oh, sounds good.
So Nat Warlol was born with an even harder name to pronounce.
Okay. That's why it's
uh,
very difficult.
Yeah, his first name, or I guess his full name, is Mithilesh Kumar Shrivastava.
Yep, sounds like an Indian name.
Yeah,
It's a mouthful.
he yeah, he was born in 1912 in Kayastha, I
Uh,
believe. So he was the oldest child. He had a younger brother. His father was like a station master at like a in the railway industry. So I think he worked kind of at like a train station.
oh, cute.
At a young age, he realized he was good at like forging signatures. And he learned this when like a neighbor sent him into town to like run an errand for him, depositing one of the neighbor's like bank drafts. And on his trip, he was like looking at the bank draft and he like was kind of like memorizing his neighbor's signature. And then, yeah. So I don't know exactly how old he was when he was doing this, but
That is definitely a young start, and hilarious how free we used to be with our bank information.
right.
That is like we have been watching old episodes of Friends, and then like today, it was funny how they had run out of candy, and then Rachel was like, "I've been giving out money, but I'm out of that," so writes her a check. It's like, yeah, that
Yeah.
hasn't aged. That wouldn't happen now.
Yeah, no store is gonna accept a check.
No store, no kid, no trick or treater. It was like the little kids, and then she was at
Oh,
candy. Um,
oh geez, yeah, no. That's
Rachel's
even
not
worse.
the smartest in that episode. Yeah.
No.
Sorry. Anyway.
So in realizing like he could forge his neighbor's signature, he ended up kind of like forging a bunch of checks with the neighbor's signature and managed to steal about 1,000 rupees, which the price conversion today. So this was like, I think I put it like just when he'd be about 10 years old or so. So from like 1922 to today, 1,000 rupees would be about $30 Canadian. So he didn't steal that much.
I didn't think that was a lot, the rupees.
No. But he was able to take a bit from the neighbor's account before the neighbor ended up noticing.
Yeesh, yeah, and if he starts small as a young boy or whatever, he will likely only get bigger.
Yeah. So he fled to a place called Calcutta, which that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, that's a big city in India.
Yeah. So while there, he enrolled as a student for a Bachelor of Commerce degree and ended up working like as a casual stockbroker.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Weird. No.
yeah, this commerce degree and working as a stockbroker, like on a casual basis, ended up giving him like knowledge he needed about like banking rules. And one source did say that during this time he also attempted to start like a cloth selling business, but it was like unsuccessful and it didn't end up taking off the way he wanted it to.
Ugh, one failed venture, and he stops trying to go straight, and he's like, "Well, I know a little bit
Mhm.
about banks and money. Time to steal."
Um, yeah, so that's the like upbringing I feel like is accurate. An alternate story was that he wasn't from this like pretty poor village, that he claims that he actually was the son of a wealthy landlord and he ran away to Calcutta to get away from his father, who had beat him for failing grades, and that he was later hired to teach a man's son, um, like some sort of subject, I guess. And when he asked um, for like money for, I guess, like tutoring this kid, and he ended up asking to like borrow more money than he was supposed to get, the like kid's father refused, and then he ended up conning him out of the money instead. That one I don't really believe.
Okay, so was there like multiple sources for either backstory? Because yeah, the second one does sound more like something that con artists make up, where you have a wealthy upbringing or you're someone
Yeah.
cute son. So that one does sound more fishy. Yeah.
Yeah, the both upbringings were mentioned in both sources I found, and like everything I found, the one alternate upbringing was only mentioned once. But
The second upbringing was mentioned once.
yeah, the one about him actually being like a wealthy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't really believe that.
Yeah. It seems interesting if true.
Yeah. So he was first arrested in 1937. So that would make him 25 years old. And during this arrest, he had, during this time, he had like changed his way of making money. Um, Instead of like conning people out of money, he was just straight out like stealing a whole bunch of iron. So he was like arrested for stealing 9 tons of iron. I couldn't find out from where.
Oh my God. He just saw
Yeah.
an opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And um according to like police at this time, he was apparently also giving like sex workers tainted alcohol and getting them drunk, and then he was like robbing them of their jewelry and money.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Um but
Wow.
at a certain point, I guess this would have been like probably around the time of his arrest. I'm not sure if it's before or after, but he decided that this was like too risky and like dangerous, like robbing people so frequently for like small petty kind of amounts, I guess. So he decided to go back to just like conning people for larger amounts.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
guess that could have de-escalated into killing them. So, in a way, yay? Ugh, what a
Yeah.
sleazeball. He's so sleazy.
Yeah. So some of the stuff he did, which is just kind of crazy. He is said to have conned like hundreds of shop owners, jewelers, jewelry stores, bankers, foreigners out of like hundreds of thousands of rupees.
Well, what's his con right now? Like what how is he
Because it was like, because he was active like in the 1950s primarily, there isn't much information about specific cons.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
only could find information really about a couple of them, and it wasn't very much information.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he conned people out of like hundreds of thousands of rupees, and over his career, he had at least 50 like aliases he had made up.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just moving from place to place by the sounds of it. Or like just
I
so many people there that he can really get away with it? I don't know.
he pretty much was targeting like foreigners and stuff,
Right.
and through his disguises like people didn't recognize who he was, but as soon as they figured out they got conned, they knew exactly who conned them. Like, yeah.
Right. And a lot of times people don't talk if they have been like a victim of a con.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So he helped with like these aliases, his ability to forge signatures, and in one source I saw it said that he learned how to forge like a bunch of famous people's signatures, but that ended up being not really like famous people like celebrities. They were thinking more like important like political figures signatures, people that would have been selling or like asking for large amounts of money for like donations and stuff like that.
Right. They're like well known in their community and everything.
Yeah.
Prominent. Hmm.
Yeah, prominent people, not necessarily like famous people.
Right.
Yeah. So he conned like a bunch of industrialists and like construction places, and he took large amounts of money from them. And one of the cons that I found really only like briefly mentioned and I couldn't find much more information about is in the 1950s, he conned the Punjab National Bank out of 650,000 rupees in a scam somehow involving rail freight and bags of rice.
This is so
Yeah,
frustrating. Why isn't there more information on this guy?
I
Like,
know. I kept looking him up and it was like literally nothing. It was just like the same thing as over and over again.
wow.
Um, so he often posed as like social workers or like a poor person. He also posed as like business managers and purchasing officers. And he got away by like paying his victims in fake checks and demand drafts.
Okay, so he'll impersonate the rich or the poor, and he's
Yeah,
into check fraud. Okay.
yeah.
I mean,
He's like he'll impersonate anybody.
there is some similarities to my case, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
A little bit.
Um, So one other thing I found more information about was that he once duped like a watch shop out of the sale of like a whole bunch of watches. So he walked into a watch shop and was like wearing like a it said he was disguised as like an old man, but he was described as like being dressed very nice, um, like full suit, everything like that, hat.
Okay.
Um, and
Old
he was,
gentleman.
yeah, like a full gentleman. He introduced himself saying he was part of the finance minister's like personal staff, and that the finance minister was like kind of on the outs with like the political party at the time, and he wanted 93 watches that he could present to a bunch of like leaders and people to kind of try and buy back support.
The political leader wanted 93 watches?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna give him a Rolex.
Yeah. The shop owner, I guess, was like suspicious immediately, but he kind of accepted the order, said they'd be ready by the next day, and thought about it overnight and decided he wanted the large sale of 93 like expensive watches, so he was just gonna do it. He didn't care.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nat Werlal, he comes back the next morning and he paid with a 32,829 rupee bank draft and he left with all 93 watches. Which,
Yeesh.
yeah. So,
That's why we have so much
yeah.
security now.
Yeah, 2 days later, the watch owner discovered that the bank draft was fake when he was attempting to deposit it.
Oh my
So
God.
he had pretty much given away 93 watches for nothing.
Sir, your fake bank draft.
Yeah.
Come
But
on.
again, it's like around the 50s, 1950, like in India.
Well, it's just that and everywhere until there's a major breach of some kind, the security doesn't get put in place for the most part. You got to have, these people that do these stupid crimes, and then we end up with the better security and stuff that we have now. Yeah, it is a slow process.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
part of the reason why when I like ran across this guy, I really wanted to cover him is the fact that is really what made him so famous in India and really like around the world is the fact that there's pretty much like it says legends, but really it's truth that he managed over the course of his like decades long career. He sold a whole bunch of like historical sites in India that wouldn't
Okay.
have been able to be sold.
He
So,
sold sites?
yeah, he's managed somehow through like selling to foreigners. He managed to sell the Taj Mahal 3 times.
Oh my God.
He
Who is
sold
buying the
the
Taj Mahal?
right 3 times. He sold a building called the Red Fort, which is a historical site in India, and once the home like to an emperor. He sold that building 2 times. He sold the Rashtrapati
Okay.
Bhavan, which is the presidential palace. He sold that building once, and he also, which was like my favorite besides the Taj Mahal being sold 3 times, he sold the Parliament House of India to a foreigner and included in the sale all 545 active sitting members.
Wait, so like, did they actually get something out of this? Like this piece of paper saying you bought it or anything?
I'd assume so. He probably had like forged ownership documentation or something. He kept telling like political figures and stuff from out of the country that like their country was poor and that they needed people to pretty much purchase these buildings and like historical sites to get money.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
kind of like how you can sponsor like I don't know, you can sponsor like like a stadium. Your company can buy a stadium and then you just put a whole shit ton of ads and stuff in there.
yeah. The hell was I gonna say? It preys on people's like ignorance, I think. Or they're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this country needs my help. Or like, yeah, of course they would do this.
Right?
What do you think about these people? It's like I was telling a friend the other day about Rick Mercer and his show that ended up coming out of whatever, this hour has 22 minutes or whatever one he was originally on. And then,
Oh, the Rick Mercer report?
well, specifically the talking with Americans part, where he would
Yes.
go and talk to them and ask questions about Canadians, like, how do you think Canadians like their igloos? Or I don't know, whatever. And they'd be like, oh yeah, they must be really great. And just it would just point out that they didn't think we were anything like them. It's like we're literally like one arbitrary border away, and our cultures are so similar, and yet nobody, like, you know what I mean, educates themselves sometimes.
Yeah. That was
I
like
mean,
me and my dad's favorite show. We loved that show.
so funny. He is so funny. Yeah, that,
Uh,
yeah, because, yeah, he did get the Rick Mercer report. And I think, if I want to say the original one he was on was 22 minutes. This hour has 22 minutes. Whatever. That one was good, and so was Air Farce.
yeah.
That was a good show. Oh, Canadian television. Anywho, he is amazing, this dude.
Right? That's why I'm like, even though he doesn't have a lot of information about specific cons, you kind of can't not talk about him. I mean, he sold the fucking Taj Mahal. Like, you go, man.
I mean, if you see a good deal, you see a good deal. I'm not saying I am so educated that I wouldn't fall for any scams. I'm very
Right.
naive. I'm very gullible. Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm like, I don't want to insult our like American listeners or any other kind of listeners when I talk about those funny shows. They just point out how, yeah, how cultures can permeate stereotypes and stuff.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah, that's
All right.
crazy.
So, more about this gentleman. I briefly talked about his many prison escapes.
You
So, obviously, like selling the Taj Mahal and a former emperor's home and the like House of Parliament. Obviously, that's going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, he's drawn some heat.
Yeah. So, along with these really high profile crimes, bought him like really long prison sentences across like a bunch of different cities.
Okay, so has he been caught then?
He was caught a whole bunch of times, but he could
Oh,
never really stay caught.
right. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So in the city, I believe it's the city of Bihar, in that city alone, he faced like 14 cases of forgery and had been sentenced to 100, oh, pardon me, burping. He had been sentenced to an accumulated 114 years in prison in just one city.
Interesting.
And yeah,
But they
so
can't
he's
like,
basically,
I was gonna say they can't like try him in all the different counties or whatever though. Can they?
no, I don't think so. Um, so over the course of his life, he was arrested. Um, the sources can't really agree. I found anywhere from 9 to 10 times in his life,
Okay.
but he didn't really stay arrested because he was, in fact, able to escape prison at least 8 times in various cunning ways.
It didn't stick. They caught him,
Yeah.
but it didn't stick. Oh, he's a slippery little minx.
Yeah. When I post pictures of this man on our website, you are going to die laughing because he looks like a cliche like Indian uncle or like dad. Like he's so stereotypical.
Someone's gonna get a hurt real bad. Someone's gonna get a conned real bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
can't wait. I should look him up. What's his? I don't know if I'll be able to spell it.
I'll spell it. It's Nat.
Sorry, hang on. This tablet is waking up. I
Yeah,
want to
all you have
know.
to look up is his like nickname. There. Did you look him up?
Yeah. Yeah, and also, is there a movie?
There's a bunch of movies in like India and stuff that they've made because people love him. He's really popular. Yeah.
I mean, he does look pretty innocent. In one picture, he's just wearing one of those like cap hats, like, oh, I want to say like a Shriner here, like that really
Yeah,
just really tall caps that are like really squared off at the top. I'm like, oh my God.
that's
He
why I
does.
said he looks like a cliche Indian grandpa or dad.
Yeah, he's a Pooh's brother from The Simpsons.
So, okay. Yeah, so he managed to escape prison 8 times in like various different ways. The only way that really is talked about was his one of the escapes he made in 1957, where he escaped Kanpur jail by wearing a smuggled police uniform he had gotten, and he bribed the cell guards with a suitcase full of money.
Oh, well, money talks. You know what they say.
So the guards probably were super excited. And at the front gate, I couldn't really determine if at the front gate the guards thought he was another guard because he was wearing this police uniform, or if they actually knew it was him. But anyway, when he left the prison, he was saluted by everybody.
Okay, in a police uniform.
Yeah. So I'm not sure like how many of the guards he bribed or like who was all in on it, you know?
Oh, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like,
So I
how
don't
did
know
they
if they
know?
saluted him because he was like dressed like a police officer, or they saluted him because he had just given them a shit ton of money.
Oh my God. I I I don't really get it. Like, he's still conning people. Like, why do they
People
fear
like him
him?
because he's targeting like only rich people. He's not targeting like average people at all. He never targeted like average people. He targeted like business owners, rich people, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so he bribes the guards, they salute him, but when he leaves, because he's a con man, the suitcase of money he had given them, strangely, was filled only with newspapers.
Wow, he's a real nice Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So, due to his like many escapes from prison, it's believed that he only ever spent about 20 years in prison over his, from what I could determine, approximately 97-year life. And he should have been in prison for at least 70 years of his life, and he was in prison for 20.
I guess they were the ones that found him charming, the jury.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, he is kind of looked at as like a Robin Hood type figure in his home village of Bangra. They look up to him because of his non-violent cons, so he never like hurt people, and he only ever targeted like rich or wealthy people, and he very often like came back to the village to visit. He hosted parties, he gave away huge amounts of money, he paid for like food for people and like feasts for the town because they were very, very poor. And yeah, he even one time held like a feast for everyone in the village where he, at the end, everybody that stuck around literally like got in a lineup and he gave 100 rupees to every single person before he left. Yeah.
He's the whole town's daddy.
Yeah. So the house Nat Warlal grew up in, it said it was demolished by the British at some point. However, like his family still owns the land.
Okay.
So his final arrest, and one of the other reasons I really wanted to talk about him once I discovered his like whole like bio, I guess, or biography I'd call it,
Yeah.
is the last time he was arrested was in 1996 at the age of 84.
Ooh, old as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Still ripping people off. At the age of 84, at the time of his arrest, he was like confined completely to a wheelchair.
He's a
So
grifter grandpa.
yeah, super grifter grandpa.
I mean, kids, I guess.
So while he was being transported from the prison to a hospital for some sort of treatment, he managed to pull off his final prison escape at age 84 while being confined to a wheelchair.
How?
I have, unfortunately, no details about this, but that he managed to, I know, he managed to get away from like the guards or whatever that were transporting him at the New Delhi railway station, and he was last seen on June 24th, 1996.
Last seen? Like
Yeah,
fleeing as fast as his little geriatric arms can make his wheelchair go.
I guess so. Maybe he said he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know.
It worked for Alan Legier.
Yeah, right? That's what I thought of when I was looking this up. I was like, oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
So
My
obviously, if he was born in like 1912, he's super fucking old. So there's a discrepancy as well about when he died.
Well, because they didn't see him after this prison escape, right?
Yeah.
What the hell?
So in 2009, his lawyer requested that the remaining like more than 100 charges against his client Natwarlal be dropped, and his lawyer stated that he had died on July 25th, 2009, which would have put him at 97 years old.
Why? Because he had just been missing long enough then? Or what?
I'm not sure. His lawyer says he died then. I'm not sure what proof he has. Um,
Weird.
but his brother is adamant, Natwarlal's brother is adamant and claims that he had his brother cremated just like within about a year of him escaping in 1996. But because of his disappearance and the discrepancy between what his brother's saying and what the lawyer's saying, his actual date of death is unknown. So he either died when he was around 84 or he died at 97.
Oh dear. I wonder if the brother was in the will at all or anything. Like, if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I have no idea. So this as well, I wish I had more information about, but it said he was survived by 2 wives and 1 daughter. I don't know if that means he was married to 2 women at the same time or if he had had 2 wives.
I mean, I wouldn't put bigamy out of his question, but no,
Yeah.
we don't know, so we won't assume.
Yeah.
I wondered if he was married, though.
Yeah. So many of his cons are like believed to be myths and stuff that people have attributed to him, but there is a lot of like evidence really from like him being arrested for stuff. Like those things did indeed take place. So but this still kind of makes piecing together like what actually his life was like. It makes it kind of difficult.
Yeah, I mean, things get blown out of proportion, and like stories grow bigger over time sometimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in 1987, a Arvind Yan, the superintendent of the Varanasi, the superintendent of the police in Varanasi. So I believe this is like one of the cities he would like frequent, said of Natwarlal's career, quote, "He is remarkably clever. I don't believe that he was a pauper, as he claims to be, or the stuff about distributing his money to the poor and having no vices. We need to probe more intensively into his past," end quote. So,
Yeah, I also don't think he was perfect and like only
no.
being altruistic and stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but I think he probably liked that image a lot.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and maybe he did some of that, and so that's kind of cool, but interesting. I've never heard of him.
So my last little part, as I mentioned, the people of his like town he grew up in Bangra, they take great pride in him and the fact that he grew up in their village. And in 2011, the village planned to like make a statue of him on the site where his family home had been demolished. I assume they haven't built it yet because when I tried to Google the statue, I couldn't find pictures.
I don't even. Statues are
Yeah.
problematic. I mean, at least they already know this guy's got a bad history before they put a statue up and are admitting to it. Because, like, yeah, the putting a statue up of him is interesting when they at least they already know he's got some faults. Where it seems like nowadays people are like, oh, these people that put up the statues, it's like, what, they did this bad thing and like they're racist and they're pulling down statues here and there and even today in Canada and stuff. And it's like, maybe we just stop with the statues.
Yeah.
Maybe we just don't need them. Ugh,
Yeah, we
it's not
can do other sorts of things.
we don't need people to be like revered like a god of some kind as in a statue all the time. Like I'm okay with like a memorial statue, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
and like
yeah.
plaques and stuff like that talking about like, I don't know, stuff that happened or whatever. But yeah, statues are because you're like putting everything just on like one person kind of thing.
Yeah, it very much glorifies that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so they are talking about doing a statue. Um, and as you had found out when you Googled him, so um, he is considered to be the greatest con man in Indian history. Because of this like infamy, he's been depicted in like a bunch of documentaries. He has like movie series of characters based on him, TV shows with characters based on him. And in India, even like con men who pull off like particularly smart cons are often called Natwarlal.
Oh my God. He's like a household name.
Yeah, so, like other con men are also given his moniker as like, I guess, a token of like honor that you are like held in the highest regard of con men, I guess.
And I can't even say it. Natawaya.
Yeah. And so many like Indian con men and stuff, of course, say that they're inspired by his career because he's the biggest one in Indian history. And that's all I have about him.
That's insane.
Yeah, the
He,
dude's crazy.
yeah. He was busy. Like that
Yeah.
isn't like he just didn't stop pretty much. It's like, oh, when did you have time to get married twice and have a kid then? You were just so busy saying you're this person and that person.
You're
It's like
getting
how
arrested at 84 while you're confined in a wheelchair and you're breaking out of prison? Like,
I mean, that part I'm so choked we don't have more information on.
I
I
know.
like I just picture like the way we used to race wheelchairs at the old folks' home, me and my sister. No, we didn't do that. Yes, we did.
In
Yeah.
my high school, we used to have a set of wheelchairs. I don't know why, but we used them to play wheelchair basketball in gym class all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's
Why they
actually.
would like, right? Why they would think to donate them to a school and not to like a hospital where like, I don't know, people that are poor could like be given a wheelchair for free instead of a whole bunch of like fucking middle schoolers.
Oh, so it wasn't like, oh, here, play wheelchair basketball so you know how these people feel as disabled people. It was just like you had two random wheelchairs,
No,
like.
we had like 15 to 20 wheelchairs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like they definitely should have been donated to a hospital instead of like middle schoolers to fuck around with at gym class.
Yeah, ours, yeah, I never had that. That's weird. That
Yeah.
is really good. Wheelchairs.
Yeah, they'd just be like, it's wheelchair day. It's like, okay, I guess we're playing on wheelchairs today.
Maybe they were the broken down ones that weren't up to code anymore.
Could be.
Oh
Yeah,
man, that's funny. Well,
yeah, that's my crazy story for this week.
I think I would probably watch the movie. I put my thing down, or my tablet down, but I don't know. It had a pretty good movie cover. Look, I was like, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that
really.
one's like based loosely on like his type of character. Um, I don't think anything's like really accurate with him, probably other than like the documentaries. But that's pretty typical.
That's true. That is typical of a lot of shit, and you're like, if you know the story, and then you watch a documentary or movie based on their life, and you're like, really? Like, I'm
Yeah.
kind of hesitant to watch Winchester. I know we talked about it a little bit, but I heard it was not that great.
What wasn't great about it?
Um, they said it wasn't scary and that there wasn't much plot. Like, I haven't seen it, but I don't know.
Oh,
And so it didn't sound to me like it was going to be probably very flattering or accurate. I was like, yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I just think I know more because I've done research now. It's like, we don't know. None of us can
Yeah.
claim to know. I'll watch it. I mean, Helen Mirren, come on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's pretty
Yeah,
good.
no, she's the one in it. So there is also con women that are con artists.
Yeah. Women can manipulate people out of money too.
Obviously, right? But yeah, even I just stumbled upon a list of female ones like the first time I started our research, and I was like, these are interesting ladies. And honestly, yeah, I probably could have done like probably a deep dive on almost all of them. I just was like, okay, this one is Canadian, and I started like they had like a paragraph about each of them, or two, maybe two paragraphs, right? Like it's like a 10 spot list where you get like a little blurb kind of.
Yeah.
And so it's like very condensed down. And then like I found this um article on her on the Smithsonian, like, so that's why I wanted to give them a shout out because I was like, that was a really good article. I basically just found her story in the other one and then found this article and was like, this is really cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was smithsonianmag.com, the high priestess of fraudulent finance.
Ooh, the High Priestess.
Oh, I should have written down the author's name too, because obviously I'm trying to give them credit because it was an awesome article. But anyway, um, we'll put it in our sources as always.
Yeah.
i.e., visit our website, please. It's awesome. Kelsey does a really good job.
Thanks. Yeah, I put a lot of effort into it. So
The visuals are nice. It's nice to have a visual option to go to with a podcast, whether it's, you can go on the website, like if they have social media, like our Instagram.
yeah, you do good on our Instagram.
Visit our Patreon. Okay, butt plug over. Anyway. So yeah, I ended up talking about a lady named Cassie Chadwick. Well, anyway, names. We'll get into it. Like you said, aliases.
Yeah, fair enough.
The first, the most that you'll probably see her referred to if you look it up is like Cassie Chadwick or the Lost Carnegie.
Ooh.
However, she was actually born Elizabeth Bigley in Eastwick, Ontario.
Oh, okay. A Canadian girl.
Right. I was going to say, I said that, didn't I? Because there is an Ontario technically in California, which is a little confusing. But anyway. So, especially because the abbreviation for the state of California is CA, like Canada abbreviated.
Oh, yeah.
Also, why are the two Vancouvers so close together? Just saying. It bugs me. Vancouver, Washington, Vancouver, BC. Who was this Captain Vancouver and why did he have to name every place after him? Probably. Guessing. So, in spring of 1902, Cassie L. Chadwick boarded a train from Cleveland to New York City. And once she arrived, she grabbed a cab to Holland House, a nearby hotel. It was an opulent, beautiful hotel, and it boasted a $350,000 wine cellar. Oh, sounds nice.
Probably climate controlled and got like a door that goes whoosh and like airlocks.
In 1902, possibly. Or maybe
Oh, okay.
cool because it's in this. They're probably actually in the cellar. Yeah, it's an actual wine cellar. But yeah, I'm thinking like ornate, like what do they call that? What it's the moldings and stuff around the corners and the
Crown
ceiling.
molding?
Yeah, probably like a lot of stuff like that and gilded things and gold.
Yeah.
Cassie loitered around this hotel until she spotted a familiar face, James Dillon, friend of her husband's and a lawyer to boot. She brushed past him and feigned surprise at meeting him there. Why, fancy meeting you here. I'm on my way to my father's house. Would you care to escort me there? Said an apparent southern drawl. So,
yeah. She doesn't sound Canadian.
well, it was 1902. I don't know. I'm sorry, people from Ontario. They sound completely normal. Anyway, so James Dillon hailed a carriage and they pulled up to number 2 East 91st Street and 5th Avenue. This mansion belonged to steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. You just know he's wealthy by the sounds of that name.
Yeah.
So, when she got to the house, she pretended to be interested in hiring a maid that she had heard worked for the Carnegies. And she was out there on the porch talking to them for about 30 minutes, being like, oh, like I thought you had this maid that I heard was good and I wanted to hire her. And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have a maid by that name. So sorry. And then she, like, that's basically what happened, I guess. So she got back in the waiting carriage or whatever that James Dillon was in. And she was like, yeah, I'm Andrew Carnegie's illegitimate child, but you got to keep it hush hush because, like illegitimate, so affair. That's why I can't say he's really my dad kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, That's the whole, yeah, you got to pretend you're from wealth, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, I'm definitely in the will, and he gives me an allowance and all that stuff. So don't worry about it. It's all good. And he's like, oh, wow, 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 cool. So that was certainly not the first of her pranks or scams or cons, for that matter. She started at a very young age, actually. So, to back it up a bit, at age 13, she had composed a letter saying that her uncle had passed and left her some inheritance. It was convincing enough, the bank allowed her to cash checks based off this evidence. So, it was a type of check fraud, the same as, was employed in your case a bit
Yeah.
there.
That
It's
seems to
like,
be like so common. Now it's like credit card fraud, but back then it was like check fraud.
yeah, up until even as late as like the 80s and 90s, the 1980s and 90s. Like you could still, there's still stuff that if you were like put a blank check in your bank account, deposit it in the ATM and like take money out, like that would still like be considered like check fraud or bank fraud or whatever. So like
Yeah.
you can still like do it. But now, yeah, you're right. Now it's all sorts of fraud and scams and phone scams and poor seniors. It's terrible. Oh,
Yeah, I got
so
it. I think I told you last week I got like a text message right before we were recording about something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the lovely. It's like, oh, it's Canada Revenue Agency.
Yeah.
So she had done this check fraud a little bit, but based on accounts that didn't exist. So eventually, a few months later, she was arrested, but because of her age at this time, she being like 13, 14, she was just basically given a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
Aw.
And probably
So,
because she's a girl.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of factors going on here, of course, like there is with everything. It's like, yeah, they went easy on her very much.
Yeah.
And she didn't stop, of course. So at the age of 22 in 1879, she had devised a better scam at that time that played off, the original kind of bank fraud. She would use like expensive letterhead and make up a fake lawyer and office and then write and claim that she had inherited money from a philanthropist in this case. It's like not even a relative, which was, I was like, okay, just a guy who's
Random.
charitable.
Yeah, random person. All right.
Like you remember how people would have calling cards sometimes then? Like it'd be like, here's my card.
Oh, yeah.
But like, yeah, it doesn't even before the business card. Like if you were a socialite, you could have one. I printed one up when Mom was working at King's Landing, and I kind of made friends with the guy that worked at the old timey print shop there that was like from the 1800s. And my card said, "Alanna Peters, how you doing?"
That's
Well,
so cute.
I don't know if I have any anymore. Damn it. But anyway, hers simply said, Miss Bigley, heiress to $15,000.
What?
That's her con. She's saying she'd inherited money from this quote unquote philanthropist, which basically is just someone who's like, you know what I mean, like donates and helps with charities and stuff. So like she's like, oh yeah, I inherited some money and it's coming and I'm wealthy.
Yeah, but you put that on a business card?
So she would write a check that was like for way more than whatever item she was buying. Oops. And the business would be like, oh, do you want your change for that in cash? And if they questioned her, she'd be like, yeah, look, my business card. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of that was like the biggest thing. Yeah.
what do you mean?
About I think they even told me that when I worked at like AMA and stuff about people writing checks and then asking for the change back. We weren't allowed to do that.
Oh, yes, as a tactic. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and definitely they cut out all sorts of forms of payment. Like it'll be like, oh, you can't write a check unless you've been so long a member, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that stuff it's very risky. Even credit cards nowadays. Anyway. But yeah, they were like, oh yeah, she has this calling card that says she's an heiress. She must be true. It must be true.
Yeah.
So I assume she got bored of this because she left to go live with her sister and brother-in-law. I don't know if I said this, but I read that she was like a child of like 7 or 8, like quite a few brothers and sisters.
Okay. So like large family.
Oh, actually, yeah. I had also put it in like a little post-it note to myself on the first page because also in her childhood, which was a little different, was she ended up losing her hearing in one ear. And I don't know if because of or maybe whatever, but she also developed a bit of a speech impediment. So she didn't speak very much, unlike myself. But she like chose her words with care and because she couldn't hear in one ear, you know what I mean? Like didn't speak as much. And the kids thought she was peculiar, so she was probably a little bit bullied and misunderstood, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, she's interesting. I kind of like her, I guess. Okay, so she's living with her sister and brother-in-law. She was like, I'm only gonna stay until I find a job, but do you think that's true? I don't think so.
No.
They soon kicked her out for using them for fraud. She had been estimating the value of their belongings to use as collateral for bank loans, and then Alice's husband found out and kicked her to the curb. So her sister's husband kicked her out.
That sounds terrible.
I mean, that's yeah. I always try to treat my sister right, but I know we all have mistakes. But
Yeah.
that's pretty blatant. She's like, and like it's not like, you know what I mean? Like when someone has like a drug addiction or something, and then they're doing something, and you're like, well, you just had to get that next fix, so you like stole or whatever. It's like she just doesn't have an excuse.
Yeah, if it's like an addiction and it's at that point it's like messed with your like brain function like chemically and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No excuse. Terrible. She moved to a different part of the city where she met Dr. Wallace S. Springsteen. He was charmed by this woman, the woman one newspaper would later dub the Lady of the Hypnotic Eye.
Ooh.
I think she is also charming, much like your guy.
Yeah. That's why I said at the end you might not hate him for a con man.
Right, but not because like looking at him, I was like, "Ooh, you're charming and sexy." Like, and I don't know,
Yeah.
she wasn't either from what I saw. But then it's those black and white photographs where no one's smiling, so you're always like, "Well, I don't know." You
Yeah.
look kind of
Hard to
mad.
tell.
Yeah. So she and Dr. Wallace Springsteen married in 1883, December 1883. Their marriage was featured in the local paper, and immediately some of the angry shopkeepers she had swindled swarmed the house, and her new husband had to pay off her debts.
Oh wow.
They divorced 12 days later.
Oh my god. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
I also almost like read right over it, and then I was like, whoa, this is like a Kardashian situation. No.
Yeah. That's shocking. I'm surprised he paid them off though, before just leaving her.
Right? Yeah, he was worried from what I gathered, he was probably worried about his own reputation, perhaps. So he was like, yeah, I better pay these in case it comes back on me specifically. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
So Betty became Madame Marie Rosa, and she scammed her way all around the Midwest states. She stopped by Erie, Pennsylvania. Woohoo. Also, I used to watch the show called Erie, Indiana, and paranormal things happened there. It was a cool show when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that it's a real place. Erie. Yeah, Erie, Pennsylvania, at least. So she went there and told them she was the niece of a Civil War general, William Tecumseh Sherman, and then she pretended to fall ill. According to one witness, she would make her gums bleed and convince people she was hemorrhaging.
Ew.
Ew, indeed. Then she, so in, that caused people to raise her some money for her illness, quote unquote. And so they wanted to get her back to Cleveland. And she got back to Cleveland, or at least she skipped town anyway, for all they know. When they wrote asking for repayment, she wrote back saying, Madame Rosa had died.
See ya, suckers.
Yeah, she's inventive. She does all sorts. She just skips town. Well, nice knowing you. She then claimed to be a clairvoyant, and she married 2 of her clients. Those also didn't last long, shockingly. Those marriages. The first
Did they
husband,
last longer than 12 days?
I think a little. Oh, my butt's falling asleep. A little bit, at least, because one of them was long enough to produce a son. The first of these second and third husbands, I guess, was a farmer. Sorry. I'm like, what am I saying?
He was a what?
So the second husband overall was a farmer.
Oh, okay.
And then the third husband was a businessman. His name was C.L. Hoover, and she and he had a son named Emil. And then she sent that son back to live with relatives in Canada while she stayed on in Cleveland, I guess. She's so nice.
Yeah, and this time I forgot she was not in Canada.
I know, because she bounced around a bit, but Cleveland has been where she's been most of the time, and then all over the Midwest, conning her way around. So this third husband, Hoover, died in 1888, and he left Betty, aka Madame Rosa, a $50,000 estate. So a real estate this time, a real inheritance.
Yeah. Not just printed on a business card?
Not even just hinted about from a philanthropist. Okay. So she then moved to Toledo. So I guess she's heading on out to Ohio. Is that where Toledo is? Anyway, don't get me started.
I have no idea.
Because of Friends, I was doing. There's one where they go, it's this game where you try to name all 50 states, and Chandler's like, it's a game where you want to kill yourself. And then because I was in travel for a bit, and I was like, I can picture the tour books. Like, I was like, I can do this. And I pretty much was good. But I forgot, like, Iowa.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It is harder than it looks. And they don't even know our 10 provinces and 3 territories. So I don't feel that bad, Kelsey. I don't.
Yeah, they can't. If they don't know 13, how are you supposed to know over 50?
It's tough. So anyway, she moved to Toledo. She moved to Toledo, and she started calling herself Lydia DeVere. I think this is alias number 2 or 3. I'm not too sure. Definitely not 50. Oh my God, that was a lot.
Yeah, but he was doing like the very short cons. He wasn't doing like long cons. It seems like she's more a long con person.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was more a long Indian named person. Oh God. Okay, so she continued to work as a clairvoyant or psychic. I guess they're pretty much the same. Is that? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. So a client named Joseph Lamb decided to pay her $10,000 to be his financial advisor. I don't know why, but she must have been very good at what she was doing. Oh, and he also would claim that she had these hypnotic powers. So, Lady of the Hypnotic Eye, indeed.
Yeah.
She unfortunately started using him to commit more check fraud. She'd give him a fake check, and because he was very well respected, he was able to cash it on good faith alone. I don't,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't remember at this point. Oh, yeah, she was, it, it just said that she was forging the signature of a prominent Clevelander. So, somebody wealthy in Cleveland. She was forging their signature.
Okay, kind of like my guy did.
Yeah, she's like, I know this guy's name. um, that continued until the checks totaled $40,000. They were both arrested. She and her poor sap of a husband. Sorry,
Yeah.
Joseph. But he was acquitted. Joseph was acquitted of all charges as he was deemed a victim in the situation, as was true. But not very smart, I guess, if he didn't maybe bring her to the authorities sooner, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Betty was successfully convicted and sentenced to 9.5 years for the forgery. In prison, she continued using her extrasensory perception, telling the warden, one, he would lose $5,000 in a business deal, and two, he would die of cancer. Oh. And sadly, both would actually come true. So I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
not trying
wow.
to, yeah, I'm just not trying to make light of his death or anything. It's really weird, actually. I don't know what to make of that. She must have, I don't know, had some sort of sixth sense or something.
Yeah.
Uh, and then she began writing letters to the parole board. She was saying she was reformed, remorseful, etc. So she's no Ed Kemper. She's not like, I'm a monster, keep me in here, you know.
Yeah.
She went, or so 3.5 years into her sentence, they relented and released her. So she went back to Cleveland and called herself Cassie L. Hoover, I guess, after the last husband, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Hoover. And doesn't matter because then she married another doctor, Leroy S. Chadwick, who was unsurprisingly rich and an heir to a family fortune. I
You
mean,
don't say.
it's her type. Sorry. And she and her son, so Cassie decided to send for her son all the way up in Canada, and they moved into Dr. Leroy Chadwick's estate. Chadwick's family and friends were surprised. Leroy is from an old Cleveland family, and they have never heard of this Cassie Hoover, this so-called Cassie. And he would only say that he had been suffering with rheumatism pain and had gotten a massage from her. Apparently, it was very relieving.
Wow.
I said, here, how could he resist the lady of the hypnotic eye?
Yeah, and her massages.
But he said to everyone else that he loved her compassion. So he was clearly drawn to her.
Okay.
Oop. Um, so Mrs. Elizabeth Betty Bigley, aka Madame Marie Rosa, aka Madame Lydia DeVere, aka Cassie L. Hoover, became Cassie L. Chadwick. I didn't have 50, so I could go through mine.
Yeah.
um, some of her neighbors were literal Rockefellers, so she really strived to impress them. So she was spending money on like art, redecorating, and yeah, just totally like going crazy. Like she bought like a pipe organ and a musical chair, like a literal musical chair, because it played a tune when you sat on it. I know, I'm like, musical chairs. No.
Wow.
Sat upon it. It played a tune.
Not just like those chairs you sit on and then it like almost like it sounds like it farts.
Every leather chair. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Once it gets
um,
cracked, it's like psh.
ooh, whoopee cushion. Yeah. So like jewels, fashion, oh, she was buying all the clothes, you name it, she bought it. She bought some friends some pianos as gifts, which is
Wow.
just lovely. And oh yes, this the year that she bought the pianos as gifts, to bring it back to the beginning, was a year after she had pretended to be related to the Carnegies and made that little stunt where she drove with her husband's friend at the beginning of the story.
Okay.
When she claimed to be Andrew Carnegie's bastard child. Um, she continued the scams and stuff, and then she was just playing with all sorts of loans. This is all like she's still married to her third husband, I guess, at this time, I want to say. I think so. I
Yeah,
will
it's hard
tell.
to keep track of. I had to put my stuff back in chronological order because it was all out of order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's just she did have the three marriages. But yeah, she's still married now. And then eventually she failed to pay back the wrong person. So Herbert Newton, an investment banker from Boston, had lent Cassie roughly $104,000 in total, and she'd agreed to pay back $190,000 with interest. But by November 19th, sorry, I was going to say November 19,004. That's how people talk. I'm a robot. But by November 1904, he got suspicious. He filed a lawsuit against her because she was not paying it back. And she denied. She denied any claims of fraud or failing to pay back these loans that he's suing her for. She's denying all the name dropping and claims of any of the relations. Like, oh no, I didn't say I was Andrew Carnegie's daughter, or whatever. All of it.
She's just backtracking on everything now.
Yeah. Deny. So bank president Charles Beckwith, I am sorry, I don't know which bank, but his bank was ruined by Cassie's cons. He came to her in jail and said, "You've ruined me, but I'm not so sure you are a fraud." Really?
Is it her hypnotic eyes again?
I think it's people don't like to admit that they have been fooled, I guess.
Not by a woman.
I think that yeah, he had a hard time saying it maybe. But yeah, so the estimate of her financial destruction, if you will, was then about 60 more numbers. $633,000, or
Wow.
in today's money, 16.5 million.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
I know, and I've never heard of her. And also, it's pointed out that's probably only those that deigned to come forward. Historians believe it could be more victims that, were had, so to speak.
Oh,
It's,
yeah, probably a lot more.
yeah, she was getting it too, just as busy as your guy. No, hustling. Oh yeah, but she didn't break out, but she was found guilty. I guess maybe this is the second time. She was found guilty of conspiracy to defraud a bank. She got 10 years. And Andrew Carnegie himself attended the trial. He pointed out errors in spelling in her forgeries of his quote unquote notes and signatures. And he actually just said, if anybody had seen this paper and then really believed that I had drawn it up and signed it, I could hardly have been flattered. Why, I have not signed a note in 30 years. Someone should have
Okay.
asked him. Yeah, someone should have asked him, he said. So that's the end of that case. That she did serve those years. Yeah.
It sounds impressive though, like $16 million. That's crazy.
I know, in today's money, and then it's like even back then, it's like whoa, like over half a million in old timey dollars. Um, oh yeah. So from like that list where I got like oh yeah, the mental floss. I have literally two sources. The one I said was the Smithsonian. The other was the mental floss with the female con artist. And then there was a bunch that had yeah, pretended to be like wealthy people's daughters and whatever and royalty. And this one
Okay.
I would honestly like I would love to deep dive on them all. I think we could do con people again and it would be really cool because they all were pretty intriguing that I read.
Yeah.
Um just a quick a couple sentences about this other lady. That's what I'm trying to say. If you can handle it.
Oh, okay.
Her name was Mary Carleton, aka Princess von Walway, and she was a 17th century English woman. She married twice and both at the same time. She was tried for this bigamy. So this one did get married at the same time. That we know for sure.
In the 1700s.
Yes. Yeah. Even more taboo, right?
Yeah.
Or in the 17th century, so 1600s, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
She had an affair with a wealthy nobleman. She fled England to go to the Netherlands, and she eventually came back and gave herself a name change and a glow up, I'm calling it. She reinvented herself as Princess von Walway from Cologne. And as a royal, she seduced a string of men, unsuspecting men, and robbed them blind. Many were suspected to be too embarrassed to admit to the trickery. And some victims did eventually talk, and she was eventually hanged to death for her crimes at the ripe old age of 30 years
Oh my
old.
gosh.
I know. I was like, I have to mention this lady. I don't know if there's more on her, but if there is, maybe we'll do another dive if people want to hear more. She was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, like, yeah, they did sentence people. That's problematic, right? They sentence people too young or without enough evidence. And then it's like, oh, yeah, and then they were exonerated a couple, years
Yeah.
later, back in history. And you're just like, ooh, guys, humanity is so rough.
Yeah, that's why so many people, I think that's why most people are against the death penalty is because it's
Yeah.
by like getting rid of the death penalty, it like stops those things from ever happening, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like, you're like, okay, well, you can't kill someone, but we can if we believe you're guilty enough. It's like, no, that's the same as you don't fight back with someone on their level if they're going to be that way, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I was going to say that's our lesson for today is what I don't know what I was just going to say. We were like, oh, don't hang people too. Don't hang people. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. It's, but anyway, also don't con people. It's not great. It's problematic and you'll feel so much better if you earn your money in other ways. And speaking from experience, I know this. Money feels so much better earned.
Yeah.
Just go
And
say that.
you'll probably never reach the fame and like infamy of having movies made about you and statues made, so don't even bother trying.
God, right? Yeah, exactly. We don't want to give criminals too much airtime and like, yeah, it's like focus on the victims and shit like that because they're not cool just because their names are known. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we're working on a new Patreon. So if you guys are listening to this in real time, yay, and look forward to that because I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be like another fun, lighthearted, like I guess more lighthearted of a true crime episode than like a murder-filled one, I guess.
Yeah, I do have more fun doing ones that don't necessarily have to involve killing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're our next Patreon, the fourth uh Patreon bonus episode is going to be about like spies and I guess unknown identity
Yeah.
kind of things about people. People who could have been potentially spies, because that's more often than not what it ends up being, right?
Yeah. I'm just calling it spy crimes for sure.
Yeah.
It's more often that way. Ooh, so many good spy movies. I mean, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to talk about there. And that's what I love. I
James
love
Bond.
yes. And he loves women because the first James Bond iteration, it was going to be a female Bond. That would have been awesome.
Oh,
And
really?
we can talk about shit like that. Yeah.
That's pretty
So,
cool. I didn't know that. And now they argue about whether or not one of them can be not British. And you're like, it could have been a woman this whole time?
oh my God. I mean, I'm okay with the news stories. Sometimes when they go back, and it's like, okay, yeah, things have been whitewashed for a long time, not enough people, colors of characters of color. But then going back and remaking things where like Ariel's black and Superman's going to be black and this and that. It's like, I don't know. I don't need all my entertainment to be so politicized all the time. And
Yeah. Or you can use the opportunity to like make your own character.
well, yeah, exactly. I'm all for the. I love when Idris Elba says he's Black Superman in Hobbs and Shaw. That's hilarious. He could be a black superhero. I would totally watch him.
Yeah. Idris Elba's the best.
Oh my God. So hot. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, catch us next time. That's all the time we have for
Yeah.
Catches and Cryptids.
Yeah.
And next time.
Yeah. After that, what are we? Oh, we're doing cryptids.
Oh my God. We are doing cryptids that are cryptic as fuck. You
And
guys love it.
Canadian as fuck.
That's true. And we are Canadians, fuck, so it should be pretty fun. And we'll drop some F bombs, you know, as we're wont to do.
Yeah.
But until then, check us out on our social media Instagram, Castles Cryptids. And if you're jonesing for extra content, there's always our Patreon. And
Yeah.
it's okay if you Jones and you join and you binge and then you leave because we appreciate it and you can always come back and binge more later. It's all good.
Yep.
So I was thinking we'd say stay cryptic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, until next time. Stay cryptic, cuties.
Yeah. Bye. This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, and Pocket Casts. Our episodes are also uploaded to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers. Become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. You can also take our poll and let us know what kind of bonus content you'd like to see in the future. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes, as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Our music is by Kobe Off Air. Thanks for listening.